Wow, 2015. Hell of a year, wasn't it? The self-lacing shoes got delayed to next year. We got hoverboards, but they fucking suck. And the Cubs... Well, some things never change, do they? But some things do change. In fact, this year, I'm instituting one major change that you guys have been asking for a long time. From here on in, we will be including albums on the list that I didn't get around to reviewing. It was an archaic rule, no one really liked it, and you guys understand that I can't possibly review everything out there. I mean, I may be saying, but I'm only human. So yeah, this year and from here on out, we'll be including albums that weren't reviewed on the show, so anyone is fair game. Well, almost anyone. See, I won't be including albums I already covered on my Critical Condition Top 15, not because I think lesser of them, not at all, simply because I've already covered them, in some cases twice. I don't want to be needlessly redundant, so consider this list and the CC Top 15 to be parallel lists. If you haven't seen that episode yet, then we'll just hold on this little graphic for a while, so you can get a chance to check it out. Okay, got it? Cool. Please note that my other rules for lists are still intact here. The list is strictly personal. It's not an end-all be-all carved in stone kind of thing, and if your album doesn't appear on the list, please don't take it personally. It's entirely possible I may not have gotten around to listening to it, or that I'm not 100% certain as to how I feel about it, or that it might just be Yeah, I don't know, there's a lot of factors. So please, if you see a choice you don't like, please don't take it personally. And if you do choose to take it personally, all your complaints, trolling, and racist tirades can be directed towards my PR department. We good? Good. You know what? Since there's so many good albums to choose from this year, and I don't have to limit myself to show-reviewed albums anymore, let's start off with some honorable mentions. Enter Shikari! This was a request that I got kinda late in the year, but I was pretty impressed with it. Is Bring Me the Horizon's latest a bit too meandering and, well, stupid for your tastes? Then these British electro post-hardcore kids have you covered, with lots of intensity, beautiful composition, and a strikingly digital soundscape. Enter Shikari is officially on my watch list. Coheed and Cambria! Hey, remember that weird week in September where I reviewed a bunch of metal albums on my rock show and reviewed a rock album on my metal show? God, what the hell was going on there? But yeah, Coheed's latest was really terrific. I'm looking forward to their next one, if only for the fact that I don't have to memorize a ton of fucking headcanon for their albums anymore. God, that's a weight off my mind. Failure! Yeah, I hated leaving this off the list proper, but after listening to it more and more throughout the year, I just kind of realized, as good as this album is, its complexity might scare some people away, and even though I love this album, I don't think I'd want it to be someone's starting point. So pick up Fantastic Planet first, but please do not wait too long to follow it up with this one. It's still golden. Rival Sons! Hey Black Keys fans, is the band's current sound really starting to bore you like it is me? Well, then Rival Sons is a band you need to check out. Exquisite blues rock with an edgier twist that makes for an infectious listen under the right circumstances. Pop this one in and get your fuzz on. I rather enjoyed it. Atreyu! Holy shit, this album was way better than I was expecting. This turned out to be a best of both worlds album for Atreyu. The crunch and ferocity of their old sound, along with the maturity and growth of later releases. It sucks that so many people wrote this album off because, Atreyu, ew, Ted emo. But guys, this is easily the best album Atreyu's produced to date. Don't let how you feel about their past albums turn you away. Give this one a fair shake. Trust me, it deserves it. Okay, that's it for honorable mentions. Now let's begin the list proper, shall we? Another thing you should note, I am including 10 best albums and 5 worst albums again. In fact, just go ahead and consider that a tradition from this point on. This is probably how we're going to do it from here on in. Okay, number 10.
We are the champions, my friends.
Oh man, it's a shame I didn't get a chance to review this one, because The Darkness really delivered on Last of Our Kind. A deliciously retro-themed throwback, like a lot of their other work. This album is just a treat from start to finish. I like that this one in particular wasn't too silly or too straight. It fits right in the comfortable middle and is just an excellent listen. I mean, is this the best thing ever? Nah, I wouldn't even say it's the best Darkness album, but it is a hell of a lot of fun. And you know what? Sometimes that's enough. We don't always have to learn a lesson or ponder the nature of humanity with every album we listen to. Sometimes it's enough to just be a hell of a lot of fun. And that's exactly what this album was.
Keep on fighting till the end.
Speaking of fun, this was another album that was not only fun, but exquisitely well played and catchy as all hell. The Front Bottoms is a band that doesn't take themselves terribly seriously, but they kinda inadvertently ended up making some damn poignant songs on Back on Top. It's so cheeky, snide, and playful that you're almost not certain whether to take it seriously at all, but whether you do or not, this album is sure to bring a smile to your face with its excellent guitar work, its laid-back synth and piano work, and its wonderfully well-balanced sense of pacing and song structure. It's a bit goofy, but it's goofy for all the right reasons. God knows we've had to deal with the opposite effect in the past, haven't we? Excellent work from a band with a horrible name.
We are the champions.
Josh, buddy, thank you so much for requesting this as part of your Patreon rewards package, because the Screaming Females are a band my dumbass should have gotten into years ago. My original review wasn't quite as glowing. Hell, I'll bet some people are probably a wee bit shocked it made the list. But guys, this album grows on you. Big time. Hell, even the small nitpicks I had with the album have pretty much ironed themselves out the more I listen to it. And isn't that a great feeling? You know, when you're listening to an album or artist and they don't jive with you immediately, but the more you listen to it, the more they grow on you, and the more stuff you notice, and the more you come to appreciate it. It's a slow, gentle transition into appreciation, and I have a lot of respect for that. It's nice when an album can earn your respect over time, and Screaming Females is a band that I am now officially sold on. Again, Josh, thanks, man. Cheers. Here's another album I couldn't get around to reviewing, unfortunately, but mostly because I didn't know what the hell to think at first. Misty's pedigree with other bands is strange enough, but this album? Oh, it's like Pet Sounds if it were postmodern and cynical as all Christing fuck. I won't lie, this one took a few spins for me to get also, but once I got it, oh god damn did I get it. Holy shit, it was more like this album got me. It's not an easy listen by any means. My god, do not listen to this thing if you're in a bad mood. But holy god, the rich instrumentation and elegantly layered vocals just make for a haunting, soul-crushingly bleak, but still altogether beautiful experience. I personally never would have thought anything good would have come from fucking Fleet Foxes, but man, am I happy to be wrong. Seriously, give this one a try, and don't be surprised if it has you bawling like a baby by the end. Oh, it's so fucking sad. I have something in my eye. I'll be back. I know some people were really pissed about Tame Impala's shift in sound, but as for me, I sure as hell wasn't. The smooth synth work and deep, pulsing bass just wash over you like a gentle ocean wave or a warm summer's breeze. See, this is the difference between an album that's relaxing and soothing and an album that's just fucking boring. Its composition is deceptively tight while still being delightfully easy to take in. Some people might scream and cry about how much better the early stuff is, and I'm certainly not saying it isn't. It is pretty good, but Tame Impala have really found their identity on this album, and I sincerely hope they stay the course. Piss all you want, fanboys. This album is chill, and I can't even be bothered to give a toss. Well, that was nice, wasn't it? 10 albums? Hell, technically 25. That totally deserve your attention, and we aren't even in the top 5 yet. But, you guys know the drill. We gotta earn those top 5 albums. Because we can't truly appreciate what's good until we delve into what's absolutely fucking abysmal. We can't appreciate how beautiful Sonic 2 is without playing Sonic 06 and putting ourselves into a DeviantArt coma first. So, without further ado... Step right up, step right up. Come one, come all, come see the amazing disappearing album. It holds so little sway, possesses so little ingenuity that it vanishes right before your very ears. You'll swear you're listening to silence. Step right up. You know, I finally feel a little bit of vindication over this band. All those years, people shouting me down over how I just wasn't open-minded enough to understand these guys. Yeah, now that they finally pulled back the curtain and showed themselves to be the Al Capone's vault of pop music, those people finally understand how I felt from the very beginning. God, I hope this is the end and we can move on to the next big whatever. And I hope to Christ it doesn't involve any more fucking banjos. If we can't have a brand new album yet, then I'm more than happy to settle with this. Like, seriously guys, this album was so good. Such a heart-wrenching, wonderfully sincere record that mixes things up more so than a lot of albums I've heard this year, especially for the pop-punk genre. Seriously, are these guys really considered pop-punk? Really? Man, it's hard to classify them into anything specific, but this was another intensely sad album that will, oddly enough, leave you insanely happy that you listened to it. You know we're off to a good start when an album like this is only number 5. Settle in, people. You know, some people said I would go to hell for slandering this album. No, I'm not. I'm going to hell because of what I did to that orphanage. But guys, like I said in my review, who is this album for? Why does it exist? I mean, apart from the obvious reasons, I know it's merch and that's how religious shitheels con other religious shitheels into giving them their money. But I mean, apart from the most basic reasoning, the music is intensely boring. The Popes, God, would lyrics even be the appropriate term here? Are, for lack of a better word, just popey things? And for an organization that prides itself on love, hope, and charity, it feels insanely cynical. Did you guys know that the Vatican is roughly estimated to make $10 to $15 billion annually? Why do they need to shill crap like this? What are those fuck-knuckle rulers made out of? Adamantium? Jesus. Wow, the atheist with a fedora and a shitty beard slags the Catholic Church while praising the album with a song called Dawkins Christ on it. Jesus Christ, my therapist was right, I am a walking cliche. Well, in this case I don't care, because Refused's return from their 17-year hiatus proved to be an unbelievably worthwhile one. Religious or not, this album kicks ass, across dogs. I was half convinced to put this into my critical condition list, since the album is quite heavier compared to their previous entries, but it's also very ska-y and electronic-y and very everything-y. But again, like with the Wonder Years, to slot this into a specific genre would be to do it a disservice. Do you like heavy music in pretty much any or all of its tapestries? Then there is something on Freedom that you will like. I guarantee it. You know, my buddy Luke over at Rocked Reviews mentioned something to me a few days back, and he even said as much in his review of the album. The biggest crime that Five Finger Death Punch commits on this album? Wasted potential. You're goddamn right I said it. I mean, there are facets to this band that aren't inherently terrible. Ivan Moody, for all his horrible lyrics, does have a very powerful shout, and Jason Hook can play a pretty wicked solo when he actually wants to. It's just a dirty Mountain Dew chugging shame that these guys use their talents to create the most boring, generic, cookie-cutter bro metal to have hit the airwaves. This band really could have been something genuinely great, you know? But it's evident that they'd rather spend more time polishing their assault rifles than their songwriting skills. God, what a fucking waste of talent. It's not just terrible, it's kinda sad. Moving on.
We are the champions.
Okay, alright, I admit, perhaps I was a bit too ass-kissy in my original review of this, but This one just hit me straight out of left field. I mean, this thing is amazing. Brittany Howard's vocals are like a weird blend of Gladys Knight and Bon Scott, but it works. The band is playing a weird hybrid of blues, punk, soul, and even shoegaze in some pieces, but it works. It's both weirdly postmodern while still sounding weirdly classical, but it works. What the hell? Maybe some of you thought my review was a bit of a cop-out when I said just go listen to it. Yeah, maybe you got me there, but really, that's the only advice I have for you here. It's something you just need to hear to believe. If I just sit here and describe it, I'm not even doing it a tenth of the justice it deserves. It might not be everyone's cup of tea. In fact, this is another one that might take you a few spins to really get into, but once you open your mind, you feel its groove, and you feel that groove so hard. Your Alabama will be shaking, I promise. You know, it sucks that a band like Five Finger Death Punch has never lived up to their potential, but take it from me, guys, it always stings more when a band had potential and over the years just slowly, steadily, painfully pissed it all away. I bet Phil Labonte thought he was being so edgy when he named his songs things like True Cult Metal or This Probably Isn't Gonna End Well. But this album just came and went like a fart in the wind, and what little stink it did make wasn't even really worth talking about. Jesus. This band doesn't make music anymore. They make sound bites. They make Twitter wars. But they don't make music. And the band that made one of the best fucking metal albums of 2006 should fucking know better than this. You spout off as much bullshit as you fucking like, Labonte, but until you become a fucking musician again, I could care less. Seriously, you want to make money out of being a petty, disgusting drama queen? Then get on the motherfucking Kardashians. You want to make music? Then be a musician, shithead.
We are the champions.
You know, between Alabama Shakes, this album, and the album I haven't named yet, it was so fucking hard to pick a number one between them. Oh, I mean, God, can't they all be number one? They all deserve your time, money, and love. But I can't deny that Frank Turner turned in one of his most consistently great albums ever. And this is coming from a guy whose albums are nearly always consistently great. The brilliant arrangements, skillful execution, and earnest, painfully honest lyrics make for what has to be one of the best soul punk albums of the year. If you love singer-songwriters, folk punk, or just like an album that'll make you laugh, cry, and reflect on your own life and how you've grown, then Positive Songs is the album to pick up. Even if you aren't a negative person, don't let the title fool you, optimists. Whether the glass is half empty or full, what it's full of is absolutely scrumptious. Chug, 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 chug. Hell, you know, it's a shame I can't put this one at number one, but there was one other album so beautiful in its execution, its creativity, and its sheer brilliance. Something just so unbelievably great, I'd be doing it a disservice if I didn't put it as the best album of the year. But before we talk about that,
here's a nice piece of shit.
give Mumford & Sons and the Pope some credit, at least they never had much musical potential to squander. Give Five Finger Death Punch some credit, at least they never cared enough about their potential to squander it. Hell, even give All That Remains a bit of credit, at least they squandered their potential over time.
What the fuck happened here?
Death Red Sabbath was a real light at the end of a long, bleak tunnel that was Danzig's late-era bullshit. It showed us that the big guy still had some potential and that he could make decent music if he actually gave a fuck. And after he made that album, he immediately stopped giving a fuck! And you know what? That's what pisses me off the most. It's not the unbearably piss-poor production. It's not the absolutely wretched arrangements and instrumentation. It's not even Glenn's warbly, out-of-tune, ridiculous to the point of hilarity vocal performance. It's the complete lack of any kind of fucks given on this album. Danzig just didn't care. He had all that time to follow up Sabbath with something killer, something to convince us to pay attention again, the 1-2 punch to bring him back into some kind of relevancy, and he pissed it all away on a lazy piece of shit. It's one of the laziest fucking wastes of my time, your time, and even Glenn's time that I've ever heard. And Danzig, of all people, should know better than to do this! Oh, and excuses like, oh, it's just a covers album, or, oh, this is his first album in 5 years, kind of some slack. No! Fuck that! Any musician worth their salt knows it takes hard work out the ass to make something brilliant. You can't half-ass it, no matter how much of a sure deal you might think you have on your hands. You can't fake that kind of sincerity, and in rock, people are always happy to call you out for your bullshit. Besides, those aren't fucking excuses. And you know what? I can think of at least one band that spent a significant amount of time out of the spotlight, got back together, but they worked their asses off and gave us what has to be, in my opinion at least, the best fucking album of the year. And that band is... God damn it, it happened again! This album was released in January, and by God, there was just nothing else that could top it. There's just no denying that No Cities to Love is not only one of the most gorgeous albums of 2015, but it might just be one of the best Sleater-Kinney albums ever produced. You think this album is the best? Well, you obviously haven't heard. Have you seen my top 10 favorite bands episode? Yeah, no, believe me, I've heard Dig Me Out, I've heard Call the Doctor, I've heard The Hot Rock, The Woods, One Beat, All Hands on the Bad One, even the early self-titled album. I like to think I've got a history with this band, and saying No Cities might be their best is not a sentiment I make lightly. It's their best because you can hear the chemistry between the artists, you can feel the passion, drive, and creativity in Tucker and Brownstein's riffing. You can feel it in every perfectly syncopated and synchronized beat of Weiss's drums, the passion, sincerity, creativity, and drive to not only just please their fans, but to break new ground, try new things, and make the best fucking goddamn release they possibly can. And you know what? They could have easily gotten away with phoning it in if they wanted. They could have. They could have said, oh, Carrie's busy with her writing career, or hey, they've been around for over 20 years, cut them a break. But no, we didn't have to cut them any breaks. They delivered one of the most multifaceted, vibrant, and gloriously catchy albums of their entire career. And I can't think of anyone I wouldn't recommend this album to. Even if it's not something you think would be your scene, give it a try. It's one of those albums that transcends scene. It transcends genre. It's one of those albums that will help you understand this band and make you want to learn more. Hell, it could even be an album that broadens your horizons and makes you want to dig deeper into other unexplored territories. But that's all speculation. Okay, what I can say for certain is this. This album gave me the most fucking hope for rock in 2015. Every time I put this album on, it made me happy. And it taught me that you're never too old, too odd, or too obtuse to make music that everyone can love. All it takes is the gumption to bust ass, the bravery to never stop experimenting, and the love for your craft to keep going at it no matter what the cost. And no matter how dignified your pedigree may be, it isn't enough to carry you over into true greatness. And this band completely understands that. It's why they work so hard. If you only listen to one album this year, make it No Cities to Love. Whew, man, again, 2015 was a hell of a year, wasn't it? You know, we saw a lot of changes on the show this year. Changes in how we do business, changes in format, new shows premiered, new experiments were taken, we even made some new friends along the way. It was pretty great for me, honestly. Change is an important part of life, you know? Change is necessary. It's vital to our existence. It's vital to our maturity and growth. If we never change, we stagnate, and some changes are necessary.
In fact,
there's one more really big change that I've been meaning to make for a long time now. 3.5 years. 3.5 years we've had with this bad boy. I remember I picked this thing up at a Target in like 2010, 2011 maybe, for like $5. I didn't even really like hats like this. I just couldn't pass up the bargain. It stayed in a closet for the longest time until I came up with the idea for the Rock Critic. I figured the costume should represent as much of the rock world as possible, you know, plaid and band t-shirts and ripped jeans. And I wanted a hat, but I had trouble thinking of one, and I figured this might serve as a nice nod to ska and ska punk culture. And it was also the most subtle of nods to Zero Punctuation. I'm a big fan of that show, what can I tell you? And it worked for a while. It was fine, but it's just not practical anymore. I'm not the same person I was when I originally donned this thing, and times have changed. And it's time for us to change too. Thanks again for watching, guys, and thank you for making 2015 one of the best years I've had doing this so far. Seriously, you guys make this a lot of fun, and I'm happy I can do what I can to entertain you, and I'm glad you like the show. We're going to be making some changes in 2016, but we're still going to be having fun, so hopefully you can stick around and watch what we have in store for the new year. Lots of cool stuff will be coming down the pipeline, so I look forward to you guys seeing it. You guys have a happy 2016, and I'll talk to you soon. Cheers. I'm keeping the buttons. I like buttons.